Yo, what's up, Jam? Um, gonna run through some basics, beat juggling basics. Nothing like super formal, just things that came top of mind and when I think of like foundational beat juggling. First thing is really the difference of chasing versus beat juggling, which I think a lot of people glaze over. Right, so chasing is running through the beat, and really more of in a mix setting. Um, like beat junkie style. Right, stuff like that. There's a lot of patterns, but the idea is really that the beat is going on and on. Messed up there. Super sloppy, but chasing is going through and letting the record like really run. Beat juggling rather is the coming back to the one repeatedly, right, and like manipulating the break. Again, sloppy, but conceptually, right? Beat juggling versus chasing, and it just makes a difference because the techniques really differ. So the strobe, which I know is the one you're working on, the strobe is kind of like a hybrid, and they mix between chasing and beat juggling. But the strobe, and I think the video that we were just watching is he definitely had the kind of the pullback, which is really important. So, and that's what Babu does too, right? Whereas you pull back just slightly. So even that, I think it's actually really useful to really break down how to utilize that little snapback. So like if you think about in that little strobe, right, where you're strobing the beat, kind of slowing down, hence like a strobe light. If you did it very much like a scratch, where like your left hand and your fader hand are always together, what'll happen is your body ends up being very like you're like a machine. Like, yo, I'm on beat, I'm strobing this, and you'll see that if you try to not pull the record slightly back before you release. Like you can see how like fast you really got to be like to do that accurately, to strobe like that without a little snap, like pull back, drag back, because it's fast. Strobing is very fast, and that's essentially like beat juggling and chasing are. It's kind of like scratching where you're faking a faster sound by switching between the two. But just like scratching, there's techniques where you don't have to use so much energy. So by if let's just break down like the first couple notes of a strobe, just that, right? So I'm going to exaggerate the pullback and like kind of talk about the benefits. Actually, the best way to benefit the pullback, or to give an example, like a nice little drill I like to do in practicing beat juggling is looping the first couple notes, right? And then, you can do whatever drills like that. But when you get to the single note, this is where you can show the importance of kind of the pullback. Because you'll see if I try to do a single note, it's actually really fast. Right, and that's where beat jugglers, they're develop techniques, because you can get that sound, but kind of fake it. If I release way behind the drum, you'll see how much delay I can do in repeating a single note. So versus so much energy, it's so fast, you release behind the beat, right? And you can see how much exaggeration you could really have. By releasing way back behind the drum. And for me, once you get to like some of the more complicated patterns, let's say, oops, sloppy. So let's say that one, that delay is really important because it's really, to me, about hand position and body position. This is one thing that like kind of trick of the trade that people don't really talk about. Beat juggling is a lot of body movement and efficiency of your hand placement. So like going back to that snapback or like kind of drag back, you'll notice it's actually about hand position. So you'll see, kind of breaking down these first couple notes again. Look where my hand is if I don't delay the release. So even these first couple notes. And you'll know, watch when I pop the fader over, let's see where my hand is. So that second note, my hand's over here. I pop the fader for the boom. My hand's still here on that second note, right? The problem with my hand being here is I pop the fader over, the boom. My hand needs to be over here to continue the pattern. But because I'm not delaying at all, by the time I need to be here, my hand is over here. But you'll see if I delay, and you watch where this hand is when I hit the note of this side. Like that's super exaggerated, but you can hear boom. When I do the delay, my hands are now here. Because of that little delay, it's giving me the time to get my hands over here. And that's super important because it opens up a whole nother opportunity for how I can manipulate the sound because I'm ahead of the beat. So one thing I like to do doing things like that where by having so much freedom now, because I'm delaying the notes, I can snap the note, boom, and that second note, I pop the fader, my hands are both free. I can do all kinds of shit, right? And that goes for both sides. And you can just play with the rhythm if you need to slow down, speed up, to get your hands where you need to be for like some wicked beat juggle patterns. But, and that's just like clearly just one kind of technique. But to me, it's so important to understand how you space out notes. One, to speed up or slow down so you can stay on beat, but also it's really body position to me. And you'll see like I'm doing a lot of kind of like shifting towards the release record. Same thing. And it's really like Executioners, X-Men style beat juggling, Eclipse, Rock Raider, you'll see they do a lot of that. It's efficiency of movement. And if you try to stay in the middle, and if you don't try to like drag your own beats, you're trying to be like a machine. You're never gonna get like the more complex patterns. So sorry, sloppy, but hopefully it was enough to kind of, give an example of the techniques.